Some growers prefer organics, others love synthetics. I like a mix of them both. Let me explain in today's video. Come on, but before we do, today's video is brought to you by Real Growers Recharge. If you want stronger, healthier plants, if you want bigger roots for better fruits, you gotta check out Real Growers Recharge. It's like an instant compost tea that holds more nutrients at your root zone, breaks those nutrients down, and makes them more plant available, getting more of your nutrients into your plants. Find out more about Recharge over at realgrowers.com. And while you're there, use coupon code Scotty420 to get 20% off your first order. Now let's get back to the show. Come on, High C, let's get into some myth busting today.
All right, so before we bust myths,
Sure.
Help me understand, what is synganic?
Synganic done right is using synthetic fertilizers for your food and then organic soil amendments as soil to improve your soil to deliver that plant available food to the plant.
Okay, so I thought soil supplements, soil microbes and stuff, that's what you're talking about, right? For the
Yeah.
soil? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you only really needed that if you're growing organic. You need it to break down the nutrients.
Yeah, they do different things. So not only in organic production, you've got these little pebbles, these little, basically the tiny little particles of rock. And so it's using these microbes. These microbes can produce organic acids, they can produce enzymes, and they can basically melt that rock and take that phosphate from it, or whatever nutrient there is, calcium, and take it from that unavailable, that the rock is not available to the plant. The microbes solubilize it and they turn it into this plant available form with organic production. We're doing something the opposite. We have a whole bunch, whether we're pouring hydroponic nutrients on there, or we're using grow dots. Synthetics, they skip that whole breakdown system and they are plant available right from the start, right from the first minute that you pour them in. What does that mean? That means they're dangerous. That means that if I put too much or too little onto that bare root, I can have big time problems, man. So I want to use these two in concert.
Okay, so what I was thinking, or what I've been told, and I know this isn't the case because I've been working with you.
Sure.
But I have been told you need those microbes, and they're natural in the organic process.
Sure, you do.
Because they have to break down the nutrients. And you're saying when you're feeding synthetics,
It's the opposite.
they don't need to break down the nutrients. They need to do something else.
They
because
need
the
to
nutrients-
regulate and buffer them is what they need to do. So you've got, we talked about them being soil amendments. The soil, they call it the rhizosphere. It's where the soil meets the plant root. And I think it's like 1/20th of an inch. That's where all this action happens. So as this, think about a hydroponic nutrient, it's watered in. If there's no microbes there or no organic material there,
It's just going straight to the root.
straight to the roots, yes. So what we do is we take microbes, whether it's bacillus that colonize that rhizosphere, trichoderma, which colonizes the outside of the root and that rhizosphere as well, or mycorrhizae. All these are fungi that, or bacteria or fungi, that the nutrient is going to stick to. The fungi and the bacteria are going to get to it first because they're lining that rhizosphere. And then they don't want the plant to die. They're relying on that plant the plant can make sugars up in we talked about that before, up in the leaves. It sends a little bit of it down as microbe food. So these microbes want to keep this plant alive. So if a whole bunch of, ionic nutrients are going to poison the plant or really mess it up,
Or just overdose the plant.
overdose it, which is going to make a weak plant that isn't going to be able to send sugars efficiently. So it regulates and hangs out in that rhizosphere, that place where the roots meet the soil, and it can either hold nutrient. It makes these biofilms that the nutrient can stick to. It can bond soil particles together to give it a whole bunch more surface area for the nutrient to stick to. It can change the pH, which I think is really cool. It can take this, maybe the pH is really high, so it can make these organic acids to lower the pH. If the pH is really low, it can make ammonia to raise the pH. But don't forget, it wants to keep that plant healthy because that plant is feeding it.
So organic microbes in the mix, they serve a purpose for organic growing. They also serve a purpose for synthetic growing.
Absolutely.
Now, I have heard that organic microbes get killed by synthetic nutrients.
Yeah, I've also heard that there's 40% THC weed. Okay, so be careful what you hear, man. People
Okay.
like to talk. There's not the science that backs that up. Mycorrhizae and trichoderma are not affected, or at least substantially affected, by salt-based fertilizers. The mycorrhizae you want to get on in the beginning, so it's able to get inside the plant, and then it sends these little hyphae out, and it just increases the efficiency of the nutrients that are being uptaken. Don't forget, these organic nutrients are converted into the ionic plant available form anyhow. So by the time these nutrients are being delivered to the microbes, they're in that ionic, are delivered from the microbes to the roots. They are in that ionic form already. So pretending that ionic plant available nutrients are going to kill microbes, it's a little not such good science.
Where does it come from then? Where does that myth come from?
People not knowing, and saying that you can't be on my side. My side, you need to be a pure organic person if you want to be on my side. If you want to use synthetics, it's a waste of time. And maybe it's a confusion that, if you are using synthetics, then don't use feather meal, don't use bone meal, don't use these things, blood meal. All these are macronutrients. They're meant to bring, whether it's a whole bunch of calcium, a whole bunch of nitrogen or phosphorus, rock phosphate. You don't need that if you're doing synthetics.
So I have had people ask, if I'm using grow dots, can I still add things like bone meal or things like, and you're saying
that'd be a
do it.
waste. That's going to throw, or it's just going to sit there. The microbes aren't going to be able to solubilize it because they've got all the ionic food that they need already available. Something like that's a waste of time.
Okay, so organic soil microbes,
Right.
okay to use with synthetic nutrients. You're saying blood meal, feather
Blood meal, bone meal, feather meal, all that stuff is meant to be slowly breaking down. The plant can't eat feathers, but the microbes can break down those feathers and turn them into plant available nutrition.
Okay, so it sounds like the key to proper synganic is synthetic nutrients, organic soil microbes, but not organic additional nutrients.
Right. You don't want to add, or I don't think you would need it. I don't think the microbes would solubilize it. Don't forget they're keeping things in balance. When we talk about the blood meal and the feather meal and all that stuff, even the fish bone meal, all that is meant to provide the macronutrients. They're grinding that up into a powder, and they're waiting for the microbes to solubilize that powder, make it into that plant available ionic form, and deliver it as needed to the roots. So if you are going to play around with synganics, use other organic inputs, things that are either going to improve your soil structure or regulate those nutrients. I'm thinking things like kelp is a great one. Kelp has all sorts of natural plant hormones. We talk about it being the fastest growing plant in the world. So that's not macronutrients there. That's taking hormones from the fastest growing plant in the world and getting them into your plant. Bat guano is it's processed. It is processed from inside the bat, so it gets a bunch of microbes in there. So it's different. It is not macronutrient. And I'd be remiss if I talked about bat guano and didn't talk about worm castings. It's the same thing. Guano means poop. Worm castings mean poop. It is what the worm, we talk about earthworms being great for soil. It's because their stomachs are loaded with bacteria, just like ours. So the earthworm eats that soil, it mixes it with bacteria, and it spits out this almost compost, or it is a compost. And whether it's earthworms or the bacteria in recharge, all these spit out these organic acids and these called biofilms, but it's things that take these soil particles, these tiny little sort of soil particles, and bond them together. So now there's more surface area for the microbes to colonize. Come on, Hi-C. I think we've made a good case here.
I think so.
All right, come on. That's my take on synganic growing, but what about you? Do you blend synthetics and organic inputs in your grow? Come on, what's your best tip? Let us know in the comments. And if you dug this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Share and talk about this one with another grower you know. And check out the other couple of videos YouTube's recommending. We think you'll like them.